All right. So welcome back, guys. We are getting started with. I have enabled week 5 for some of you already, but I'm going to still be working on week 4. The reason for that is I want to make sure that you guys are absolutely crystal clear until week 4. You have seen that as a part of the free sessions, we have covered Java, we have covered a little bit of XPath, a little bit of Selenium WebDriver stuff. And now what we can do is, let's get into the XPath understanding. I have given you guys a little bit of understanding what is absolute XPath, what is relative XPath, how exactly it is functioning ideally in terms of how to search for an element. What's the difference between searching an element using absolute XPath and relative XPath, and why absolute XPath is not the right way of doing it. We have to understand different methods that are available as a part of relative XPath, and that's what we are supposed to learn. So let's just get back to the video again. And okay. So here we are going to get to understand, we will be understanding what are different type of XPath methods that are available, which can help us to find an element. Okay, so the methods that we are going to use here, I mean, you have to first and foremost understand in this particular XPath that I'm trying to create or that I'm trying to show you here in this particular section, I'm saying that I am trying to search for the input element starting from the root of the web page. That's why I'm adding a dot. And then I'm saying double slash, meaning I want to search globally in the whole page. So I'm saying double slash meaning I am searching for my child's. So if I'm starting from the root, basically I'm trying to say that I'm searching for all my elements in the web page, right? And I'm trying to find an element which is an input element. And I'm also trying to find out that the input element should have a class attribute that is nav input. And that is what making this element unique in the page. However, if you have understood what I wanted to let you know about @class attribute, the point here is @class attribute. So for example, I have an input box. Sorry, somebody else came in as well. Eric, just a minute. Did he join? Yeah, he's there. Okay. So for example, I have an input box. I have an input box and I have an anchor tag. And these two guys are probably under, I mean, these two guys are there for a particular purpose. Maybe in this particular section where you have a input box and anchor tag, maybe it is a form from the UI perspective. Maybe it is a form. I'm just assuming things. Maybe it is a form, right? So it is highly possible that the developer can do this. It can add an attribute to this particular element called class equals, say, input form. Input form. Okay. And he or she can also put the same thing into an anchor, right? So there is a risk if you ever try to associate a particular, if you try to ever associate a particular element with just a class attribute. Okay, so that's the reason why I told you that you have to be a little bit choosy to figure out which particular attribute is the one that you want to choose in terms of your locators. Or if you want to make it even more better, you can actually add something like input add class. That's totally fine. If you want to use a class, no problem about that. Class equals whatever, ABC. And then if you want, you can add another attribute, just like that, saying add, say name, and give a name to it if you want, right? But there is no guarantee that if you choose just the name or just the class on its own, you will be able to find the element uniquely in the page. Maybe you can choose by, maybe you can write your XPath by adding one or two more attributes to make it unique in the page. The main motive of this automation is to find an element uniquely in the page, right? XYZ, something like that. And this combination that he just created right now is making this XPath unique in the page. And that is what we are looking for, okay? Find element, this particular method you have already seen, it is coming out of driver, web driver. All right. Did I give you guys a breakdown of the whole thing? Meaning driver dot find element and by dot XPath and sorry. And here you just put in XPath, and then you say dot click. Did I give you a breakdown of how am I able to chain up this whole text? Did I give you a breakdown of that? Yes, no?
Don't think so.
Did I not? Can you guys confirm me that, please?
Don't think so.
Okay, perfect. So Pankaj is saying yes. All right. Pankaj, if you're saying yes, can you, I mean, in the live class, actually, did I give a breakdown is what I'm asking.
Sorry, I watched your previous video. So that's
what you're saying. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. No problem. Okay. Let's try to understand this part. All right. It's very, very crucial. And we should understand this, what we are writing and how we are writing it. So sorry about that. I didn't open up my Eclipse. All right, so just let's create a new project. So we'll just say week for B summary classes, summary class, right? And finish. Okay. New package, test Selenium, and that's it. And then I'm going to just say I will add a new Java build path, the class path, add library, add external jars. That's it. C drive, drivers, great. Okay, that's that. We close everything else. New class. Okay. So actually, you know what? Let's try to create something. Let's try to create a simple framework, a very simple framework. It's very important for us to understand how a framework works. So let's try to create a very simple framework so that, we can build on top of it. Okay. So in this package, I'm going to write, create a class, and I will name this class as driver factory. Okay. You have to understand that when we are writing a program, we have to always make sure that whatever task I'm trying to assign for a class, I will always be thinking that that class as a module. You understand? Meaning, I will not be giving too many responsibilities to a class. Okay, so that you can modularize things. If you adding 10 different 10 different activities or a feature to a class, then it gets unmanageable. For example, if I am giving the responsibility of a class to hold my test cases and also to create the WebDriver object, then it gets untidy and it gets unmanageable, because your test cases will keep on growing and you will not be able to manage everything in the same class. So always you have to figure out one thing, that is, how can I modularize stuff for me? For example, here I'm creating one class called driver factory, meaning the job of this class is only one thing, that is to generate drivers. That's it. What do we generate out of a factory? What do I generate out of a shoe factory? Shoes, right? Similarly, I am going to generate drivers out of driver factory. Simple, no main method in this class. Perfectly fine, finish. In this class, I'm just going to write a very simple stuff. I've done this example in the video, but I'll anyway go through it. I'm going to write a private method here, private variable here, private WebDriver driver. And I'm setting this to null. Anyway, it is null, but I'm setting this to null explicitly. So private WebDriver driver equals to null. I will be importing this WebDriver because I have added the Selenium jar into this project, so I can get this WebDriver object. So I just got it here, perfectly fine. Now I'm going to have one method, meaning public. This method is going to return me back with something. What is it going to return me back? It is going to return me back with a WebDriver object. It is going to return me back with a WebDriver object. I have shown you that we can choose to return something from a method, or we can keep it void. So here I'm saying I want to return something back out of this particular class or particular method, and that is WebDriver objects. I say public WebDriver, and then I say the name of this method is getDriver, something like that. The idea is that in this method getDriver, I will be passing on a parameter. The parameter will be a string parameter. In the parameter, I'm going to say the browser name. So browser, right? Browser, perfectly fine. The idea is, depending on whatever the browser it is, I will be generating the WebDriver accordingly, or the object accordingly. Perfectly fine. So I'm going to write this section here saying if WebDriver, if browser dot equals or equals ignore case, I'll tell you why I'm saying this, equals ignore case. Always remember to make your methods, or whatever program you're writing, always remember to make your methods or program future proof. Meaning what? For example, look at the difference between, so see, this is why the live sessions are important, right? Otherwise, I could have just given you the videos and I could have said that, just go through it. But I have a live class in this training because I can keep on adding more and more stuff to you. For example, why didn't I use the method called browser.equals? I could have used that. But I'm not using equals. Equals meaning what? For example, if I'm saying Chrome, sorry, somebody else came in. Okay, so if I say Chrome, okay, if I'm sending Chrome, I am looking at it from its case sensitivity perspective, right? The text Chrome is a case sensitive, Java is a case sensitive language. So the method that I'm writing getDriver, in this parameter right here, this browser parameter right here, anybody can choose to send the browser name in any format they want or any case format they want. They can make it as something like this, Chrome, or they can say Chrome, or they can say anything, right? So I want to make this method future-proof. I want to make this method future-proof. So if I want to make this method future-proof, what I have to do? I have to say, whatever the text that is coming inside the method getDriver, I want to take it under equals ignore case method. Meaning, I say browser dot equals ignore case. Okay? Now, equals ignore case is the method that is going to evaluate the actual text that is coming inside this parameter, equal ignore case, and I will say Chrome, right? Right? Now, question. How am I able to, question to Shoaib, how am I able to write browser dot equal ignore case? What is it coming into your mind? What is a browser?
Object reference variable.
Can you just point me, where do you see that? What object, what type of object it is? Kevin, what is it? What is this guy here doing? The browser, I said browser.equal ignore case. What exactly is browser? Kevin?
So basically, sorry,
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
In later of your project, like when you have the main method, what you will be doing when you're calling this method, you will be passing the arguments, and that argument will get stored in browser, and whatever is the value in the browser will trigger your conditions.
That is true. Question to you is, again, what is this browser? If I ask you, what is browser?
Parameter.
It's a parameter. What type of parameter it is?
It's a string type parameter.
Perfect. Very good. Okay.
The WebDriver of the WebDriver instance.
Whoa. What? No. It is string type of parameter. That's it. Where did the WebDriver came from? I mean, how the WebDriver came in here?
Because the public class is called WebDriver.
The public class is called driver factory.
No, but the public
This is a method.
Oh, right.
This is a method. The method name is getDriver. The method is returning back WebDriver object.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say. So it's so it's a browser is a type of parameter of types. Sorry, browser is a parameter of type string. It is of the method getDriver, which is being run by the WebDriver. I was going to say instance.
No. Driver factory is the class. Again, I'm not understanding. Where am I going wrong? I'm saying driver factory is the class.
Yes, that's what you called it. You could have called it bus driver. It's your class. Yeah.
Whatever. It's a class. In this class, I have a method. Called getDriver. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. This method has a parameter called string browser.
Yeah, browser type string, with string type, Method getDriver.
and a return type
Oh, it's a return type of WebDriver.
Exactly. WebDriver, meaning this method is going to return back a WebDriver object, period.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say, an instance of WebDriver. Okay, so
No,
it's a
when you go for an
type.
interview, and if you just say that I'm supposed to say this, it wouldn't work.
Yes.
This is very, very clear. You cannot go wrong in class, method, return type, or whatever I'm teaching. It's not possible. I don't want you to mug up. It is something to memorize. I mean, you have to understand this.
Yeah.
Shoaib, is that clear?
Yeah. So
okay.
So in line number 7, when you say private WebDriver driver equal to null, so in this case, what is WebDriver? WebDriver is a class.
WebDriver is a There's a reason.
And driver is the
can you
reference...
question, guys. What? Okay. This section, I'm just right now pointing. This section, what do I call it? This global particular section. Sorry?
Global scope.
Exactly. It's a global scope. It's a global scope. Meaning what? Chef, meaning what?
That
or anybody else?
Yeah, you can use driver in...
I can use driver
in the whole class, anywhere in the outside this class as well.
Perfect. Exactly. So the idea is that I am just initializing a WebDriver object just here so that I can, so you see right now this driver object is set to null. Whether I set to null explicitly or not, Java will anyways set any object that is created as null. Okay. Now that if it is set to null, it has actually no value. So the idea is the method that I'm creating right now is going to put the value inside this driver object. Is that making sense? No, it doesn't make sense. Let me complete this method and we'll go over it again. So, okay, one more question. This is a parameter, string browser, that's a parameter. It's of type string. Can you tell me, Shoaib, or probably I can ask Eric, can you tell me what is this I'm saying? Browser dot equals ignore case. What is equals ignore case? How am I able to access it equal ignore case? Equals ignore case, how am I able to access it? Eric? Do I have Eric? Yeah, I have Eric. Eric, can you please answer me that?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah, go on. Why am I able to?
Yes, but I'm not sure.
Come on.
I'm not sure, but what to do this method?
No, leave method.
It's possible.
Leave method. Just one question. Leave method. Just one question. Browser is of type string. How am I able to say browser dot equals ignore case? How am I able to say that?
It's possible to set some steps when the browser is different to Chrome.
No. That isn't the question. The question is, what is equals? Okay, this equals ignore case and the browser that I'm saying, how I am able to say it that browser dot equals ignore case. Probably not able to make you understand. Hold on.
Equals ignore case is a method in the string class.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, correct.
Equals ignore case is a method in the string class. That's what I'm trying to say. Meaning every time you use any method, go and see the options that are available. How to read the options. Please understand. Look at the situation here. It says equals ignore case. this equals ignore case is a method that accepts a parameter, which is a string parameter. And equals ignore case is returning back a Boolean. I'm showing this to you so that it can sit in your mind forever. That's how you need to read a method. Then what that method is doing, it's nothing about just memorizing stuff. It's about reading an option and seeing if that method or that option is something that can really help me or not. So in this case, it really helps me. For example, equals ignore case. This is a method. This method is under what? It's under a class, which is string class. String class is a data type. Okay, it's a data type, string data type. Inside that, I have a method called equals ignore case. That method is accepting a parameter, which is another string. Perfectly fine. And this equal ignore case method is returning back a Boolean. It's returning back a Boolean type, meaning it is saying if this statement is a true or a false. If it is true, only then I will go inside this if block and perform something. If not, I will come out of it. So I'll say now, else if browser equals Firefox, then I want to do something else. Firefox, then I want to do something else, right? I'm just writing only 2 of them right now. We can add in more stuff, no problem at all. Good. Now, what I'll say here is, here, now you see, why did I spend so much time last week to go over runtime polymorphism? Why? Now look at it. I say driver equals new Chrome driver. Do you see that? Is it not a runtime polymorphism? I'm going to import the Chrome driver. So you see, I'm saying WebDriver driver equals new Chrome driver. It's a runtime polymorphism. It's exactly as I said last time. I said car auto equals new Mercedes. Right? It's exactly like that. I can also say, so now from this situation, you can easily understand, I can also say driver equals new Firefox driver. Okay. And let me import the Firefox. Okay. It's exactly the same like what I did. I can say again, auto equals new, say Audi. I can say that. Meaning what will I say? Meaning both Mercedes and Audi is derived. The right way to say it is, it is derived out of the car class. So you can think that in this case also, it is exactly the same situation. I'm saying WebDriver equals to Chrome driver or Firefox driver. Now, depending on whatever I send in here in the parameter, I will be either getting out a Chrome driver object or a Firefox driver object out of this method called getDriver. Is that clear to everybody? It should be clear as water. Is it clear to everybody?
I think it's a lot clearer now. I've only got one question though. It's something I always had on day one, which is when we write, that first statement, normally we don't construct it like what you've done as a global scope item. Normally
no, we do. we do because, and there's a reason why. There's a reason. Everything has a purpose. And I'll explain that to you in a minute, all right? Just hold your questions for a minute.
Oh, this might help explain it. I was going to say, if you remove that private WebDriver drive from the global scope, show them what it would mean, to show them then how it would change, what happens below.
Yeah, I'll exactly do that. So Now, let me just complete this method, right? This method is WebDriver driver, whatever. And now what I'll do is I'll say this Chrome driver doesn't work on its own. Why it doesn't work? Please watch my video. It will tell you. I will tell you why it doesn't work. It needs an additional exe file, a Chrome driver exe file to instantiate the Chrome browser. So I'll just set that up. I'll say system dot set property dot set property, and the property will have something like driver dot Chrome. What is that?
WebDriver dot Chrome.
Yeah, WebDriver. Yeah, right. My bad. WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver. Chrome dot driver. Right. And once I have this, I'm just going to put in my path. My path is somewhere in my locals. I'm just going to copy that from my. Okay. C drive drivers, and we'll say, okay, that's my location of my Chrome driver. I say C drivers, and I'll say Chrome driver. Chrome driver .exe, right? The exact similar stuff will go into my Firefox as well. The only thing is it's WebDriver.gecko driver, GCKO driver, and we'll say Firefox Firefox driver. Sorry, my bad. It's a gecko driver here. Gecko. Correct? So this is the location of my Firefox and Chrome driver. That's it. Now, once it is done, you see the idea is simple. The idea is I am simply adding a driver object in the global scope. Then, depending on my browser type or whatever the string it is, I'm going to instantiate a web driver object, whether it's a Chrome driver or a Firefox driver, perfectly fine. Once it is done, what I'm going to say is, let's return back that instance. So I'll say return web driver, return driver, because the driver is an object of web driver instance. Now, this method I have here in this class called driver factory, perfectly fine. I can go on and I can create another method. The method of this, the method that I'll be creating here is just to kill the instance. So always remember, when you're creating an object like this kind of object, you have to always remember that you have to take it out of the memory to shut it down, right? How can I do that? Generally, there will be some methods already created for that particular structure or particular situation, and you have to just call them. For example, I'm going to create a method here called as public void and say quit driver. So quit driver method will do only one thing. It will kill the driver. So how will it kill the driver? I'll say a simple thing. If driver is not equals to null, what does it mean? Meaning if the driver is already activated, if the driver is already instantiated like this, then let's go and kill it. So driver dot quit. Simple. Okay, now the question. Now the question that Kevin was asking me, why do I ever need to put it here in the global scope? Okay, perfectly fine. Let's go and do it. Control X, put it inside the method. This method is working fine. But what about this method? Can you guys tell me? What will happen to this method? I will not be able to use this method anymore. The idea is the hold on. Okay, so look at this. The get driver method was called. Okay, I was able to instantiate the driver object, totally fine. And then I returned back the driver object. Now, if I want to say quit driver, how will I say quit driver? Because now in this situation, this method quit driver doesn't even know that there is an object called driver somewhere exists, because this guy is kind of local, it is local to this method called get driver. So this method quit driver has no access to the driver object. Is that clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
So in this kind of situation, you need to keep your object in a global space so that everybody else can access it. So let's just revert back. And that is the end of this particular class, right? Driver factory is the class, and it has just two methods: to generate a driver object and to kill that driver object. Simple stuff, okay? Let's go on creating another class. The class is, say...
Can I ask a quick question?
Go on.
Yeah, so basically, on day one, before we get into what you were saying, which is the the global scope, normally I used to write public static void main, string args, right? And then I'd start. So I would always start with WebDriver driver equals new, and then the next bit I didn't get, which is Chrome driver as a method. Because normally, if I was writing it, I would write
Chrome driver is not a method. Chrome driver is a class.
Or a class, then, yes, right? Because normally I would have written it, WebDriver driver equals new WebDriver brackets output Chrome.
You will never be able to do that.
But you can never ever do that. That's always wrong. So I never ever write it. I just have to remember it's always WebDriver driver equals new Chrome driver.
Okay, I think you're really getting confused here, Kevin.
Okay. No,
I'll come back to you later on. Let me just continue with the class. So what I'll do here is this class here called test cases. You see, I'm trying to develop a framework. As a part of the framework, the first component that I created is done, driver factory. Perfectly fine. Now I'm creating another class here called test cases. This test case class is going to have the test cases that I want to execute. Perfect. The question, if I want to execute any Selenium related test cases, what is the one core component that I need?
You will need another class with main method. Where you will call your test cases.
To call the test cases, that's right. But ideally what I need is, I need the WebDriver object to be accessed somewhere, somehow, into this particular class, right? I need to run my test cases, I need the WebDriver object. Without that, I cannot run my web classes, test cases, obviously, okay? So my idea is simple. My idea is, I'm going to create a constructor. I have spoken about constructor in detail in the previous class. So I'm just going to talk about constructor. Just give me a minute. I'm going to create a constructor here. So what is the constructor? So let's say the constructor is public test cases. Okay. Or maybe, you know what? I'll just quickly change the name of this class. Refactor, rename. I'll say run test cases. Run test cases. That's it. And I'm going to create a simple constructor, run test cases. Cool. Good stuff. Perfectly fine. Now, in this particular class, I have a string. And in the string, I'm going to, the name of this parameter is with browser. Okay. I want to run my test cases with a particular browser. Simple. Good stuff. So now what do I do? Here I'm doing something that is private. Look at it. Private WebDriver driver equals null. I'm doing this again. Why I'm doing this? I'll let you know the story or strategy. So I just got my WebDriver imported here. Totally fine. Now I'm saying something. I'm saying driver. Okay. Now I'm saying something. I'm saying driver factory. Look at this. This is a constructor. Why I'm showing this structure to you? Because I wanted to know that what are the possibilities of a constructor, why a constructor can be used or how it is used. Okay. So for example, in this particular class, in this particular constructor, I'm saying, let me create an object of driver factory. Okay. Let me create an object of driver factory. We'll say something like this, driver factory df, or you can do something, just a minute. I will actually put it here. Private driver factory df null, simple. And then I say df equals new driver factory. Good. And then I say df dot get driver. I can call that method get driver. Okay. And then I'm going to pass on this with driver parameter over here. Okay. And then this method is going to return me back a WebDriver object. So I can say driver equals df.getDriver. Now this driver is my driver, which will actually drive all the test cases within this entire run test cases class. That's the motive. Okay. So now if that's the motive, then let's do something. Let's do something. That is, we can then now go on and start writing our test cases. So we'll say public. There is one challenge, that is, for example, what if I want to create an object of the WebDriver every time? I mean, I can do that in the test case level, but okay, we will come to that later on. Let's just continue. So public void tc001, some test case. And here I'm just going to get started with a simple test case here, saying this driver that I got, I'm going to say driver.get. Okay. And I'm going to say driver.get, and I'm going to say amazon.co.uk. This is what will launch my browser with Amazon. Let's try to execute this. And let me go through the whole flow so that you guys are absolutely clear. And then I will go a little deeper in terms of breaking that whole string down. Okay. Now I'm going to have a main method, a class with a main method saying test main or something like that. All right. As a part of test main, what I'm going to do, I'm creating an object inside the main method, because I told you a main method is needed so that I can initiate my program from some kind of a kickoff point. So main method is my kickoff point, and I'm going to say run test cases. Okay. Run equals new run test cases. Okay. Perfectly fine. Control Shift O. If I say Control Shift O, it will. Okay, I don't need that, sorry, because it is already in the same package. Here I have to just pass on the name of the browser, because with browser was a parameter here. So I want to run my test cases with Chrome, for example. I just say Chrome, perfectly fine. And now I say run dot tc001. So I want to run tc001. That's my first test case. Okay. Now let's take a step back and figure it out properly, how these three classes are working in the same situation. Obviously, I will draw things for you. So again, a main method Or let me go for a bottom-up approach, right? I'll say driver factory, or maybe I'll just say driver factory just here. I'll say driver factory. Okay, you know, this guy is just going to get you back with a WebDriver object of either Chrome or Firefox whatsoever, right? That is this class will do. Cool. What I have is another class. This class is called run test cases. Run test cases. Okay. Run test cases is going to run all the test cases that I have inside this class. So I have a test case called TC001, and you know, how did I access, how can I access that, right? I can simply create an object of run test cases, and then I can just call the method called TC001, which is very, very simple. But before that, we have to understand a little bit about the constructor of run test cases. So run test cases is having a constructor called public run test cases. Actually, you know what? Let me not write this anyway. I will simply go to the class. What's the point in writing here? Okay, so just try to understand. I have a main method now. Let me talk about the main method. That's my main method. It's a main method. Now see what is happening. Obviously, JVM is looking for a main method. So the main method will be my kickoff point. In the main method, I'm creating an object of run test cases. Run test cases. Okay. When I'm saying run test cases, I'm just creating an object of run test cases class. The name of the object is run. Okay. Run test cases is the class. Run is the object name. Perfectly fine. So from here, I'm going to make a call to the class run test cases, and then eventually access the method TC001, right? But before I even call the TC001 method, because there's a reason why there's a constructor as well, because I have a constructor in this particular test class, I have to. So you are kind of forcing your user to construct the run test cases class properly with the help of a browser name. So when you're creating an object of run test cases, because I have a parameter over here called with browser, you have no other choice than giving a parameter name, which is a browser name. If you're giving a right browser name that is configured in driver factory, then you will get that object back. Meaning, if you are saying that I want to get the Chrome, or I want to get the Firefox, if you're saying that I want to get any of these two objects, then driver factory can return back that object. But if you're saying Edge, as of now, Edge is not even configured as a part of driver factory, so it will never return back. So again, I have a main method. In the main method, I'm creating an object of run test cases, correct? And when I'm creating the object of run test cases, I have no other choice other than working out with the constructor run test cases. In the run test cases, I have a browser, I have a parameter called with browser. So I have to give the browser name as Chrome or Firefox as of now. And then what it will do, it will eventually call the driver factory, get the Chrome driver or Firefox driver out, and then it will set inside a private variable called driver again. Because this driver variable that I'm putting in the global space now can be used by any test cases. I have TC001, I can have public TC002, and I can still access driver.get and I can say maybe wisdomqa.com.
Sorry, Souvik, can I ask a quick question here?
Sure, go on.
So, Souvik, you basically get initiated two global variables here. In your driver factory, you had the same private WebDriver equal to null.
Yeah.
If you were to put as protected WebDriver equal to null in your driver factory, and if you were to have extended your class run test cases, would you be able to use the same variable everywhere in both the classes?
Yes, because it is a protected, so you're basically trying to say this. Let me actually do that for you, no problem at all. So let me clear it up all. If you want to do that, you can do that. That's a different strategy. You can do that, meaning I can say extends driver factory. But by the way, I love this question. Thank you for asking it. So it's a very good question. So run test cases extends driver factory. I can certainly do that. Nobody is stopping me from doing that. In that situation, I don't even need this guy anymore. I take it out. No problem. I even take it out. I don't need the DF object at all. I can directly access get driver. And this get driver method is then returning me back a WebDriver object. Now your question is, do I want, what if I want to make this as protected? You can, no problem. So protected. And you got this driver object anyways. That's fine also. Now all you can do is something like this, because this is a method called get driver. So now just think about it. Is this logical? Think about it. So get driver is a method, okay? I can call this method called get driver to get an object of WebDriver. Is that yes or no, guys? I can call get driver method to get a WebDriver object, yes or no? Yes. No?
Yep.
Correct. Meaning I can say, because it's a WebDriver object, meaning I can even say dot, and you can see I am getting the access to all WebDriver objects or methods. So I can say get driver and browser, and then I can access all the methods. Question, why will I not do this? Ask yourself, why will I not do this? It's a good question, and this leads to some questions. That is, why will I not? Why can't I do this? For example, I'm saying get driver is a method. So why can't I do this? I can say get driver, and I can say Chrome. Question, is this going to work? Yes, no. Is this going to work? Yes or no?
I think it will work.
Sorry?
I think it will work.
It will 100% work.
But it's just
what is overwriting these steps over and over, I think.
Just not that. You are, when you're calling the method called get driver, think about it, what is actually happening. You are creating an object of Chrome driver or Firefox driver, meaning for each and every test case, you are opening up a new browser instance. What's the point? And just not for each and every test case, rather each and every test step, because look at it. Here I'm saying get driver Chrome equals Amazon. That's the first step. And then I say get driver Chrome, and I say dot find element. So now will this work? It will not work, because find element.
Oh, because you're opening URL every time, I think.
Every time, exactly. Yeah. Not URL opening URL, but you are opening the Chrome browser in every step.
Every step, yeah. Okay.
So that wouldn't work. Okay. So now if this is not working, then what's the option? The option is you create the object once and then reuse it for your multiple test cases or multiple test steps. To achieve that, I am creating an object of WebDriver and I'm making it private so that I can pass it on to all my test cases. And then I'm saying driver equals get driver. Perfectly fine. I can say driver equals get driver. Perfectly fine. So if that is the case, then there is no point in actually making this guy as protected. Let it make it private anyways, because this guy over here has nothing to do with my caller. I mean, the caller, which is run test case, that's a caller, right? I have nothing to do with that. So let me make it private. This is all coming out of the framework development perspective. You have to think ahead. So I have this private WebDriver, which I will be then just using. So this guy over here is just local or just being used as a part of only this class. And that's it. That's the end of this object. This object is being created by or initialized by getDriver method and then sent back to the caller. That's it. That's the end of it. Now, in the caller, which is my run test case, I have a private guy here, okay, private WebDriver. And then what I'm doing, I'm saying getDriver equals new with browser. Absolutely fine, I can do that. Nobody is stopping me from doing that. But you have to always, if you want to have this strategy, if you have to call this getDriver method without creating the object of driver factory, then you have to make sure that every test case extends to driver factory. Every run test case class should extend to driver factory. I didn't want to do that. That's the reason I just said remove this. Create an instance of driver factory like this, putting in the global space. I'm instantiating the df just there as a part of the constructor. Now that you know that in the constructor, I can perform multiple different stuff. I can instantiate an object of a different class. So I did, right? And I'm done with that as well. I got my object created. Now I can use it in my TC001 and TC02 or whichever test case I want to run them. Now that's my simple stuff, and that's my simple framework. And the framework that I'm showing you right now is the simplest ever framework that I can show you, but it is a very good start because you have to now understand that we cannot dump everything in one class. That is where everything is coming from. I mean, like that's where the framework is coming here, right? You have to make your code base modularized, maintainable, right? That is where it is all coming from, right? So you see, right now I just have three components. One is a executor, okay, where I'm executing my test cases, perfectly fine. One is the holder. This class is holding all my test cases. And third, a WebDriver generator, a very simple modularization. Is that understandable by everybody? Yes, no?
Sorry, Souvik, can you just explain something in your run test case, please? If you open that tab.
Run test case, yeah, that's my run test case class. Okay, yes.
Okay. Could you just explain where you have declared your constructor? You know, that part from 10, step number 10 to 12, please, again. It's a bit confusing.
No problem. This is a constructor. Okay, why do I need the constructor? Number one, I need the reason. What is the use case? The use case is I need to control the browser type from the executor. Meaning what? Meaning I have my executor which is my main method. In the main method, if I wish, I can, or I should be able to execute the same test case from a Chrome browser or a Firefox browser or an Edge browser, however I have configured it. So I have a use case, that is, I want to execute my test case against a Chrome, Firefox, or Edge, and I want to control that from my executor, the main class or the main method. That's my use case. To make this use case happen, to make this use case work, what I have to do, I have to now create a constructor in the run test case class to say that what type of browser I am expecting to execute my test cases. And this test case, this run test cases constructor is basically helping me run test cases constructor is helping me to generate the required browser object. So you understand how it is channelized, meaning this is my controller. You can say this is my controller, meaning I'm just saying this is from where I am dictating that what is the browser I will be using to execute my test case. And this guy is helping me. So this guy is just waiting and understanding, okay, I have to execute my test cases against a Chrome browser. So let me generate a browser from Chrome. And then what it does, this run test cases constructor, it is using the driver factory as a utility class to create the actual object, browser object. That is exactly what is happening. Is that understandable? Now, sure.
Yeah. So basically, when you pass the parameter Chrome, so in this case, how the method is called. So firstly, it will store Chrome in with browser.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in step 11, df is so df is your reference variable for driver factory class.
Yes, because I have to eventually call the method called getDriver, who is actually, going to get the object created, right?
Yeah.
So I have to create this guy, df, so that I can call the method called getDriver, and then I pass the same parameter over here to get the actual driver, the web driver, Chrome driver or Firefox driver. And that information is then stored inside this driver object, right?
Yeah.
So that this driver object can be used in this guy or in this guy or anywhere you feel like. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you had the same, when you declared the class in driver factory, you had passed on the parameter string browser. So when does with browser and browsers are sort of matched, or, when...
True. Exactly. When it is coming as Chrome, it will be evaluated against the method called driver factory. In the driver factory, you can see that I have this class here, or the parameter here called browser, where I'm matching up just there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it works.
Okay.
It should be crystal clear, guys, everybody. Bino, Duncan.
And you can call the quit driver
Pankaj.
once you have executed all your test cases. Then you
exactly.
can call, and then it will quit the browser, and it will close the browser basically.
Exactly.
So what's the difference in quit method and close method then in that case?
Okay, I will not answer that because if I have to answer that, I have to go to a different direction.
Okay,
there's a different situation. I'll explain when the right time comes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we understand that how exactly the whole flow is working, let's try to dig a little deeper and figure out a few more stuff, meaning driver.get whatever is done. Okay. Now in the Amazon website, I can go ahead and I can say driver.find element by .xpath. Okay. And then here I can give the XPath. I can give any XPath. For example, I'm just taking an example. For example, let's go to our good old Amazon and amazon.co.uk. And just there, I say, I have this guy, which is an input field. So inspect, and this input field is having some XPath. So let's try to understand this input field is having a simple guy, which is 2-tab search text box. That's an ID. So if it's an ID, I would really not prefer to use an XPath. I can just go ahead and choose the ID on its own, meaning I can say something like this, where I can say not instead of XPath, I will just say ID. Okay. It's the same thing, and I will explain you why. And I just say the ID information here, and then I say dot, and then I say dot send keys, and then I say some kind of a product I want to search. For example, 1 plus 9, something like that. Okay, that's my motive. I want to search for the 1 plus 9 product. Now the question is, yes, I'm able to write this whole structure, but the question is, how am I able to write it? I mean, what is the whole logic behind it? How can I stitch them together to write this whole line? It is very important for you to understand from general programming perspective, not only from WebDriver perspective, but general programming perspective, how it is happening is what you need to understand. So let's put it step by step. I'm going to break it down. Multiple steps so that it can kind of make sense to you. I'm putting everything in separate line so that it is understandable. Okay. This guy right here, what is it? We all know it's a WebDriver instance. WebDriver instance that was generated from the constructor, just right here. We know that. Okay, so I'm not going out again with it. All right. This WebDriver instance is having a method. What is the name of the method? The name of the method is find element. Okay, how do I know the method and what is that method doing? For example, I can just say dot over here, and you can see all these methods that belong to the WebDriver instance. Find element, find elements, get current URL, get page source, get title, get window handle, get window handles, navigate, switch to, wait, and so many stuff. All these methods belongs to the WebDriver instance. Okay, so here we are talking about the method called as find element. Now, understand this structure very well. Whenever, you know what? I'm not sure if I can do this, but I'll just try to. Let's see if I can do this and put it in a different. Let's just check out something. Right, let's see. My print screen is not working, is it? How the hell do I correct it? I want to really show you what is going on there. Hopefully it works this time. Perfect. Okay, so let me just do one thing. I'll just quickly clear my old drawing. Clear my drawing. Okay, and let's just see. Okay, let's just see. This section that I'm showing you, let me just a little bit increase the section so that you guys should totally figure it out, what's going on. So when you add a dot, when you put a dot to any object, I'm just trying to show you how to read the methods that are inside an object. So here I am adding this particular dot. This dot is coming out of the WebDriver instance. We know that. And I am trying to call the method called find element. All good. Now, when you say find element, this is the method called find element, which is coming inside that WebDriver object. So understand, this find element method is accepting an object of by type. It's accepting a by type object. What is by? We will talk about that in a minute. But it's a by type of object which it is expecting. And this find element is returning back a web element object. Understand this? One more time. Find element is a method that is accepting a parameter of by type. You can a method can accept different types of parameter. It can be a string type, an integer type, or a by type, or any other type, ideally. Okay. So this method called find element is accepting a by type of object, and then finally returning back a web element object. Okay. It is returning me back a web element object. All right, let's look at another method. For example, get. Why do I use a get for? You remember? We use a get for getting into the URL or opening up the URL using WebDriver. We say driver.get, and then we pass on our URL. This get method is accepting a string type of parameter or a string type of object. Okay, and this method returns nothing, so it's a void. Okay, and this part over here saying WebDriver, meaning this method, find element method, is belonging to the WebDriver class. Or WebDriver is not a class, it's an interface, but I'll get to the point later on. Okay, it's coming out of the WebDriver. So whatever is in the grayed out section, that's where this method is belonging to. This method is opening or accepts a by type of object, and it returns back a web element object. You can see any stuff over here. Get current URL. It doesn't need any parameter, but it returns back a string type of object, and it belongs to WebDriver. You see, you can take up any damn method in your entire in your entire WebDriver or any object for that matter. Why I'm saying this? Because I want you to train your brain accordingly. A lot of people get scared of saying, oh my God, there are hundreds of methods. How will I remember? You don't have to remember. You just say dot, read it, and figure it out how to use a method. It's very simple. Am I making sense? Yes, no.
Yes, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, good. So clear it out. Let's get back to what I was doing. Okay, so in here then, Let me clear this all pieces. Okay, correct. So find element, it's a method. The method that accepts, so I'll just say it here then. It's a method. A method, okay, from WebDriver. You understand that perfectly? This find element method now is having a parameter. What parameter? A by parameter. Okay. So let's try to look at by parameter. What is a by parameter? It's a parameter. Parameter. Okay. Parameter of type by. Correct? Of type by. Perfectly fine. Now, if you look at it, it's a type okay. Understand one thing. Again, let's take a step back and understand what do I ideally mean by this keyword that I'm using called type. I've spoken about it 100 times so far in last 4 weeks. What do I really mean by this word called type? Can someone answer me that? What is it? Is it a method, constructor, class, interface? What is it? What do I mean by the keyword called type?
It's a parameter has a type like string.
Yeah. So what is string?
Your classes.
Exactly.
String. Oh.
String is a class. It's a class of type. I mean, it's actually a data type, but actually it is a class. How do I know that? Why am I saying this, right? Go in here. Go and hit control in your keyboard and say, click on this. Open declaration. What is it? Public final class. It's a class. String is a class in the underneath in the actual core situation. It is nothing but a class. Anything for that matter. Okay, there are different components in Java. There are interface, there are class, but string is a class. Okay, driver factory, what is it? It's a class. Again, similarly, let's go on and look at it. Find element, what is it? Find element. I cannot access that because find element is inside another package called Selenium WebDriver. So I'm not able to access it directly. I have to attach the source. I don't have the source attached to it. So I will not be able to show you that, but web element, I told you, find element is a method, okay? This find element method needs the by object. By is a type, parameter of type by. Type is nothing but a class. Type is nothing but a class. Now, if I just try to open this up, I cannot attach it, but I can take you to the documentation of by class. How can I do that? Let me go back here, clear my drawing for now, and just say Selenium WebDriver by class Java doc, something like that. Let's open up. This is WebDriver. Okay, this is the by class. Find element by class. Let's go in there. Let's see, what is it? It's a by class. By is a class. Inside by class, I have methods. I have methods which are like guys. You see, by class name, by CSS selector, by ID, by link text, by XPath. Look at this. Look at this closely. It's saying by ID. What am I doing here? I'm exactly doing that, right? I say by dot ID. Now the question can come to your mind that if by is a class, you can ask me if by is a class, then why am I not doing by equals new by, and then I am allowed to access the method called by dot id. That is how it should be, right? The question should come like this, that if by is a class, then I can say by equals new by and then say by.id. I should have created the ID, by class object first, and then I should have accessed it here. But how come I am able to access the method ID directly using by class? Why am I able to say by.id? Why? Ask yourself the question.
Inheritance.
Sorry?
Is it by inheritance?
No. I haven't really spoken about this. I've not spoken about this. I'll talk to you about this later on. But the concept here is called static methods. A method which is a static method, like the main method is a static method. You see that? So now, because in the by, the ID, this is a method. Look at it. Look at the documentation. ID is a method, but it is of type static. Because if a method is of type static, then you don't really have to create an object of that class that is holding that method. It's a concept which I will talk about in details, but I don't want to really go into that. I am just sticking to my current discussion about this, breaking down this whole step. So I'm saying by.id, why it is by.id, and how I'm able to say this, because id is a method, and this method is of type static. So for now, just remember this. If a method is of type static, then I don't need to create an object of the class, okay, to access that method. I can directly access it by its name, only the name of the class. And that is exactly what I'm doing. So again, id is a method that accepts a string parameter, as you can see, and this id is a static method. Okay, that's the reason why I'm saying by.id, and I'm able to pass on my parameter, which is a string parameter. So look at it one more time clearly. That is just there, saying by.id, and I'm able to pass on the string. That's that. Now this is the whole structure of the section saying driver.find element by id. Okay, let me pull it back all together in the same line. Let's do that again. Find element, put this guy into the by here, and then just there again. Okay, and then finally I say send keys. I didn't still talk about send keys yet, because send keys is something else. Now let's take one more step back and see what is the return type of the method called find element. Again, hover on the method find element and look at it. Multiple ways of seeing the same thing. You can say dot, and it will tell you about the find element method, or you can just hover on top of the find element method and it will tell you the same thing again. It says find element method is accepting a by type of object, and then it returns back a web element type of object. So ideally, this line over here is returning back a web element object. So I can say something like this. I can say web element input equals driver.find element. I can say that, right? And when I can say that, then I can say something more, meaning this web element as a separate entity is having a method called send keys. And that's the reason why I can now say input dot send keys. I can say that. I can split the whole thing in 2 lines, and I can say it like this, but I can also choose not to put it in 2 different lines, and I can say driver.findElement dot whatever, and just say, let's put it just like that, right? I can even say that. It's just different ways of saying the same thing. So this whole part that I'm highlighting right now is a web element, and web element object is having a method called send keys that accepts parameters, string parameters. That's how this whole line is created. Nothing is coming out of thin air. Everything has a purpose. And that's what I wanted to show you. Everything is clear? Yes, no?
Yes, sorry. Can I ask a quick question, please?
Go on.
Okay, so now when we look at the line number 18, so driver.get, because get has got no return type.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can't sort of save it because it's not a web element. So you can't have a web element driver equal to driver.get.
That is right.
Because there's no return type. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Everything is coming in. I mean, are you guys able to kind of get the whole picture slowly? I understand that we just started with a blank canvas and then we're just drawing down one step at a time, you know, and then coloring it later on. So are you guys able to kind of picturize this whole story? It's not as complicated as it looks. People get scared of programming for some reason. I used to be scared of programming, believe me. I'm done with my computer engineering, and trust me, in 4 years of engineering, I will not say that I have learned a lot in programming. I haven't, because the curriculum itself is stupid. I'm an IT graduate, IT engineering, and you know, they just put in like thousands of peppers into it that really doesn't have any implication in my actual career, right? So whatever I have learned on job, and I used to be scared of programming. You know, in my engineering days, in my actual on-job training, I used to get so scared of like looking at all this code and, oh my God, rocket science is happening here. But it's not, it's simple. When you start looking into it, break it down, things are modularized, things are simple. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break of 5 minutes. You guys also take a break. We'll come back and then we will talk a little bit more in terms of XPaths and XPath methods and all the stuff. And then we'll go to the, we'll complete the week 4 today. All right. Perfect. Just 5 minutes and come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we just understood that whole process. That's good. Everybody's back. We can get started, right? Everybody's back. All right. Okay. Perfect. So what I was talking about something, and that is my, not here, but here. Okay. So finding element, perfectly fine. Understand find elements, exactly the same process. The only difference in find element and find elements is that in find element, you're returning back, or you're getting back just getting back one element. Just getting back one element, meaning I have this whole web page in front of me. I'm trying to find out an element, something like this, saying the element is maybe input box. It's an input box. And that has an attribute called name equals Romeo, whatever, right? I have an input box called Romeo, and for some reason, I mean, it's highly possible that in a page, there are multiple input box, and it is absolutely possible that in the page, there are multiple input box with the same attributes. Highly possible, nobody is stopping you from doing that as a developer. So you have this guy and you have this guy just there. Okay, perfectly fine. What did I tell you earlier? When you write this command, private.find element, what is happening is you are idly searching for an element in the web page, starting from the top left corner of the HTML page to the bottom right corner. That's how the search happens. So meaning, if you say driver.find element, what will happen? It will return you back. If that element is if the element exists in that page, it will return you back with the first occurrence. That's this guy, not this guy at the bottom. All right. Driver.find element, if you say, and you have two elements exactly same category or same attributes, then you get the response back from the first element in the page. All right. So that's that. Now, in terms of find elements, what happens? In find elements, what happens is it tries to find out all the elements in the page that follows the same structure. Okay? So it is not only finding one element, but it is finding multiple elements that follows the same structure. Meaning, if you look at my diagram here, so you say driver, sorry, this is my export. Diff text get to know us, following sibling and all. I'll talk about that later on. You're just trying to find out multiple different anchor tags. So you can see this particular export here, this particular export over here is returning me back with 3 different anchor tags. It's returning me back with 3 different anchor tags. Okay. So the 3 different anchor tags is returned back into what? Into list of web elements. Earlier, driver.find element was giving me back with 1 element at a time. Okay. But here I can extract multiple different elements and put it inside a list of web elements. Here I have multiple different elements, anchor, anchor, and anchor, right? I have 3 elements that I can put inside a list of elements. So from this piece of code, what you can understand is this. Clear it all. So I'm saying driver.find elements, I'm putting that to a list of web elements. So it's a list, and list is nothing but a Java collection. So if it's a Java collection, then I can say I'm using a for each loop. I told you how to work with a for each loop when I was explaining you arrays. And that is the reason why I told you that whatever I'm teaching you from the day one, try to grasp it, grab it as much as you can. So here again, I'm using a for each loop where I'm using this links, which is basically multiple elements. And I'm saying this loop is iterating one by one. And every time I am able to click on this element, you see, I'm not really doing all the stuff again, meaning driver.find element.click. I'm not doing that. Why? Because I'm extracting every element into a list of web element already. And then I'm saying link.click. So link is nothing but a web element object. And I told you inside the web element, there are multiple different methods already, meaning the methods like .send keys. It is coming out of web element class. Again, .click is coming out of web element class, right? So here, this link is of type web element, and link is having a method called click. So I'm able to click it. Is that understandable? Simple structure. Is that clear?
Yep.
Shoaib, is it clear?
Yes.
Kevin? Everyone else? Eric? Duncan?
Yeah.
Binoy, is it clear?
So
Okay. All right. So that's the situation there. All right. Perfectly fine. So create test case. I have created some test cases as a part of the video. I'll not go over that. Let me go and take a look into the next one in the class 12. All right. So let's see as a part of 12, what do I have? Okay. So there are multiple different methods that I have spoken about as a part of the browser commands. Okay. So export access, export commands. Let me talk about export access. All right. You know what? I will quickly do a quick round recap in export methods that are available. Okay. And then I'll come to the export access, and then I'll come to the browser commands. Okay. So let's go and look at something in terms of export. All right. So let's go and see rental cars or Expedia. So what do we have in the Expedia? Good stuff. I will first and foremost, if I want to inspect the element, let's try and understand this. For example, my motive is to grab or work with all the elements in the header. All the elements in the header. When I'm saying I want to work with it, what I want to do nothing. Just I want to print out all these guys, for example. That's what my motive is. What will I do? I will have to figure out something. I have to figure out what is that which is common for all these elements in the header section. I have to figure that out. How can I figure that out? Obviously, I have to inspect. So let's try and inspect the first element, maybe this guy. Inspect. All right. My motive is, use case is just to check if I can print out all these values. All right. So let's try and understand the situation. This guy over here, the one that I'm right now highlighting, it's an image. It's an image. Image of type, it's an image that has some attributes. It has a src attribute, which is basically source, meaning if you just copy the section, put it in your browser, just like that, enter, that shows Expedia as a icon or an image, right? So that is the image that I got out of it. That's perfect. And it has some other attributes like alt, like class, those kind of stuff. So it is obviously quite evident that there is no way I can extract the text out of an image. So I'm really not concerned about it. Okay, so let's remove it. Let's not bother about it. So let's go down and look at the other section. More travel. That looks like a link. So inspect again. Okay. So here I have something called as Nav Id. All right. Nav Id, header toolbar. Header toolbar nav. That's the Nav Id. That's fine. And this guy is having a div, a button, because I have to click on that if I want to expand it. And finally, I have this text called more travel. All right. So you can say nav ID is the whole section that is containing the text. So I can just close this right now. And that's one of my element that I want to access. But I want to access the whole section there, right? So let's just go a little bit up, more up, until I find this section. You see that? When I come to the section, I see the whole strip that is getting highlighted, meaning this is the whole container ideally that is having all these links tied together. So that's my situation. This is one element. Inside this, I have one section over here that is the UTIK grid that has the logo as well as more travel. And then there's another one, which is Nav ID that has so many stuff there. Let's say the next section. You see, how did I broke it down to pieces? You see, how can I figure it out that where are these links are located? Okay, because I'm just slowly inspecting my elements, right? So this is my whole strip that has all the elements in that nav bar. And inside that there are main two components. One is a div that has a logo and more travel. The second guy is a secondary nav. Okay. Now, the point is that let's look at the nav ID. In the nav ID, I have a few stuff. I have a button that's a English or whatever, that's a button, okay? And then I have, if I expand the button, then I have a SVG. SVG is nothing but an icon. And then I have this keyword called English. That's where the English comes from. That's cool. So I have this button. That's the main thing. All right. And then I have a div. There are a few divs. In the each and every div, there's an anchor. And then the anchor is having the text called as list your property. All right. Again, there are multiple different divs. Every one of them is for different options. So now you understand that there is two sections. One is this part, UTIK grid, and then nav ID. My motive is to kind of create one XPath somehow so that I can access all this element under the same XPath and then simply print the values. That's what my motive is. Simple, right? So what can I do? Let me try and clear my drawing first. All right. And as a part of this, let's check out something. This is my whole section ideally, right? This is my whole section ideally, right? Section, header, no stripe. And so let's say I have a div, and the div is having a class. Let's try to see something. Let's try to see that if this class is having something unique. Site header. Okay, by the way, when we are writing HTML or when the developers are writing HTML, they're using this classes, right? Okay. If you look closely, every class, I mean, in the class attribute, there are multiple values, meaning you see site header is one value, okay? And then all L padding 6, that's another value. All R padding 2, that's another value. So what do I mean by that? Meaning this component div is having multiple classes attached to it. Every one of them is an individual class. If you read more about HTML later on, okay, you will understand that each and every one of them are basically separate classes that you can stitch them together under a class attribute. All right. So here, site header is a class, and this looks a little bit unique to me. Unique because I'm trying to work with the site header, and the name suggests it's a site header. So let me try and see if my thoughts are right, meaning I'll say Control F and open up my search box at the bottom. And I'll say, I just copy up the site header just like that. Okay. And I'll say something like this. I'll say, I'm looking for a div. that has a class equals site header. Okay, obviously it will not work. Why it will not work? Because site header, I told you, because from HTML perspective, site header is a class, but you cannot make it work like this. You have to either give the whole class name or the whole class attribute value, or you can use contains like this. So contains is a method coming out of export. So contains add class, comma, and then you say a bracket. Okay. Contains, wrong spelling. Contents. And you see, I am seeing it as one of one, meaning in this whole page, there's only one div or one element. There's a one div that has the class called site headers inside the class attribute. Okay, so I found this guy is perfect. Good. The method that you got to learn here is called contains. Let's break it down. All right. So this is the method that we just used. Div contains. What is this? Div is the tag, correct? Contains is a export method. Export method. This method accepts a parameter. In the parameter, you say two things. Number one is what is the attribute you're trying to look for. So attribute, and then its value, or I'll say partial value. There's a difference between why did I use contents? Understand this. Why did I use contents? I have used contents because contents meaning I'm just trying to see if this value site header is within the div class attribute or not. If you look at this guy there one more time, this is my whole guy, right? Copy element should do the job for me. Okay. Here, paste. Good. Let's try and really. Oh yeah, I just messed it around. Okay. Sometimes it really gets challenging to put this all together. Can I expand this guy? No, I cannot expand this guy. Too bad. I wanted to just expand that whole thing. Anyways, let me just not do that. I will quickly go back to the whole section. So I say class site headers all L padding. This is the whole value of the class, right? In this whole value of the class, I'm just looking for a partial section, which is site headers. Okay, that's why I'm using the method called contains. So contains is basically looking for a partial value. And that's how I am able to find out this element uniquely in the page. Okay. So that's contents is an export method. That's good. Now that I find this, now I know my motive is to get the whole element out of that whole strip. So what do? Let's try and look at situations like, let's try to go down and you can see there is something. There is a nav. Yeah. There's a nav. If I look at the nav, in the nav, I have a div called more travel, correct? So I want to extract this value called more travel. And also, if I close this down, and if I go to the secondary nav, there are also multiple divs and buttons. The button is having that keyword called as English. Oh, sorry, wow. This div, this English is a div under a div. Okay. So can we do something? Can we say we are looking for divs? So I'll say, you see what I'm doing? I'm saying double slash. I'm not saying single slash. I'm saying double slash, meaning I want to now search. I want to now search inside this whole div, ideally inside. Let me use the right section. A red guy, maybe. Yeah. So this is my primary root now. This whole green guy is a primary root now. And I want to search inside this whole section that I'm highlighting right now. With the help of double slash. How will I do it? Simple. I say double slash. And I'm looking for what? I'm looking for a div. Oh my God, how many divs I have? I have 29 divs. That's scary, right? I just need only 5 elements. How can I figure it out? I can figure it out if I go even deeper. Like what? Like this. Let's go down and I have Nav ID. Inside the Nav ID, I have a div, and that the div is having an attribute called as class. Okay. So let's do this. Let's not give just div, but let's give a div that has an attribute called class. Will it work? Let's see. It will work if the other elements are also having the similar structure, meaning, you see, the nav ID, the secondary nav ID is having a button over here, and then multiple divs, right? And then I have a div that has a class, okay? And then over here you see div, and that has class, div class utic. Okay, let's see some common stuff, all right? Let's look at some common stuff. For example, it's really, really interesting when you look at it. So look at this now. This guy, div utic grade, that has a nav ID, and the nav ID is having the nav ID is having a button, and then this class is called utic type 300. Look at this section. I'll actually clear my drawing. Okay, look at this section very closely. Div, come on, highlight please. Div class utic type 300 more travel. What am I interested in? I'm interested in this particular keyword, more travel. I want to print all of them. That's what I'm interested in. So I'm looking for a div that has a class type utic 300. Utic type 300. That's my guy, right? So let's go and clear this drawing, and let's dig deeper inside the other element, which is this guy, nav ID, secondary nav. Inside that also, I have a button. Inside the button, I have a div that has a type called utic type 300 and utic text. Okay, so utic type 300 that has a actual word called English. My motive is to get the value English. So obviously this is a common guy again. Let's go to the next div. Utic type 300. Wow. Again, utic type, hopefully, utic type 300. Wow, right? So now that I understand the pattern, guys, XPath is nothing, or locator strategy in that matter is nothing but recognizing the pattern. You see, I'm doing this for the first time in front of you, but I am able to recognize a pattern. Okay, I understood my use case. I'm recognizing a pattern and I'm getting it done. What's the pattern now? So I say add class. No, not only add class. I have to say contains, because I have seen that at some places the class name is all containing utic type 300. Along with that, there is another class. So I'll just say class contain, what is it? Utic type 300. Am I right with that? Utic type 300. Dev contains class. Sorry, UITK. My bad. UITK. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what I got. I got 16 of them. So I'm doing something wrong, obviously. So let's see this. So hold on. I should be getting only 5 of them, right? So more travel, perfectly fine. And then I have the other guy, which is all right. Okay. So I have this guy also. And then I have the SVG. Where did it go? It has gone to some other place. Hold on. Let me see something. This guy is not even there. This guy is being pulled from somewhere else. You see, this guy is not even highlighting. So I'm doing something wrong. Let me just go back one more time. More travels. More travel is this guy. That's good. That's the first guy. UITK grid. And then I have this Nav ID. As a part of that, I got the first element. That is a more travels. But why it is going out of that whole grid? Let's just check one more time. Okay. This is going out of the whole grid. It should stay inside this guy. Or maybe it is doing it, but hold on. Ah, right. Okay, I get that problem now. You know what is problem? What is the problem? Because this guy is a drop down. And if I put a drop down, I have stays. So these all guys are also within that UITK. That's why the problem is. But I'm not bothered about this guys, right? I'm not bothered about this guys. I'm just bothered about only the whole strip, not the menu which is even hidden. I'm not bothered about them. So somehow I have to figure that out. All right. So that's why it's saying 16. All right. Never mind. So let's just check out something. Stays, cruises. All right. Now I say English. List your property, support, tips, sign in. Okay. That part is totally done. That part is totally fine. But I have a problem in terms of other stuff. So I have to figure it out. How do I figure this out? Let me just go over it again to see that. So UITK, Expedia rewards. I don't know where that is coming from. Huh. All right, so here it is saying that it is under this list called UITK list, and I don't want that. Yeah, I don't want that. So I have to then do something else to say not, right? The problem of saying not. Or if I don't say even this, even then that's a problem, right? If I say, even if I just remove that UITK class, even then I have a problem. So what other options do I have? I have a button. I have a button. Wait a minute. There's a way, I think. Hopefully, hold on. Export, and or not, right? Let me just check something. There is a not method. What is not in this one exactly? Here? There is this guy. Not contains. Okay. Not is a function. That's good. Yeah, I can use not, right? So then, if I can use not, then I can use this contains this, and I can say not. There are two things, right? Oh, sorry, my bad. Here I can do this, right? I can say not, as a part of not, I will say not. Okay, so here it is, right? So my plan is this. My plan is I am able to come to this guy. That's fine. But if I want to avoid the menu items, that's the menu item over here, which is under hotel. And this hotel is under another element, which is this guy called div class UITK menu container. So I want to really take out this portion, right? How can I do that? My plan is that I want to really jump from this element to this element and figure it out if I can somehow avoid this guy. Logically, that's what I want to do. I want to not take up any child that belongs to this guy. Okay? So if that's the case, then can I say that not contains that class not contains class, comma, copy, paste. Yeah, I am able to put the not contains this guy, but it didn't really make any difference to my whole situation. Or what was gonna do? Yeah, this is a weird thing. I have to take some time to figure this out. There has to be some way to just remove one section at a time. Div container this guy and not contains this guy. Now let me just check one thing. Sorry, my bad. I should say not, yeah, obviously it didn't work because I have to say div contains, yeah, this is right. I've done it right. But that is not working. Okay, I'll take a look into it. I'll take a look into it, that how exactly I can remove that section. There has to be some other option to get it done. For now, let us try and just concentrate on one part, which is our simple method over here to get us all these elements and eventually print them all. So you can see the method that I'm trying to showcase you here is called contains. And I use the contains method to get that job done. That's number one. There are multiple different type of methods that we use in our XPath, and those are contains. That is one of them. Let me look at the other guy, saying text, okay, equals, say, stays. You see, I am able to use this, but you see, I'm getting one of one. So I'm looking for a div. Let me break it down again. So I'm looking for a div. Okay. I'm looking for a div that has a class value called as site headers. Inside that, I'm looking for a div that contains the class as UITK type 300. And also that div has some component that has a value called as stays. So you know what is a div. Div is nothing but a division in your screen. And inside this div, the div is not actually having the text, but maybe in this div, there are multiple different subcomponents. It could be an anchor, it could be something else, or something else, right? So that guy is having the value called as stays, for example. Stays, for example, and I'm able to even get to that using this particular structure. So I'm saying I'm looking for a div that has a text called stays, and I'm able to get that. Right? So you just understood two different methods right now. One is the text, one is the class, sorry, not class, one is the contains, okay? There are other methods that we have used in XPath, meaning text contains, what else I have? I have starts with, I have, what is starts with, meaning, for example, you have a class name, class. The value of the class is, say, house, right? And then I have window, and then I have door, for example. That's the whole class value, right? So you're trying to find out an element in the page that starts with a class name that has the value starting with house. You understand there's a difference between contains and starts with. Contains meaning this keyword UTIK type 300 can be anywhere in that whole field, right? When you say starts with, it is always starting with the keyword house. So you will say something like this. You will say, I'm looking for a div that starts with, right? And I say text, and I say here, sorry, my bad. It's not going to be text as a method, but I'll be using @text, right? And then I'll say here as whatever the house is. So in this situation over here, I could have used, because UITK is the front element, the first element, I could have used, instead of contains, I could have used starts with. So let's just try that. I will quickly clear my drawing and go back here and just say, instead of contains, let's try and say starts with. And it's the same thing because UITK is the first element. Okay. If I remove this guy, no problem at all. Still gives me 16, and that's good. Great. Okay. So that is that. All right. What else I can show you? That's how you have to get the XPaths. So we have understood about, all right, questions. Contains class name. Oh, that worked, is it, Keith? That's great. Let's see.
I just Googled it. It just says to try that. It might work. I was thinking it might need to be included within the first contains rather than separate.
Let's just try that. You think and not contains. Not contains.
No, it would be like so. So see there so halfway up you've got a /div and then starts with. So it would be at the starts with where you start the new contains instead.
You meaning within the square brackets?
Yeah. So based on this, you've got div contains class site header // div, and then within that div then is where we'll do the new contains and not contains. So within that whole square bracket.
Yeah, yeah. And not contains, right?
All right, you've got it starts with now. That's fine too.
Yeah, this will work as well because I have this section over here.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that part where you added the starts with because I was Googling that.
Okay, okay. Not contains. Contains a class equals UITK. No, it's the same thing. Still gives me 16. My motive is to take out that. By the way, it's not the UITK link. My motive is to take out the UITK menu container. So I'll just say UITK menu. Yeah, same thing. UITK menu container.
If you put change it from the starts with to the contains as well. Contains the actual just the type 300 instead of starts with.
So here you want me to remove the contains and say starts with. You want me to put it there. How will that work?
That the div both contains that but doesn't contain the other one. So ignoring the starts with.
You're saying somewhere here within the bracket here.
No, I'm saying remove the whole starts with a method and put in a full contains method instead, but you're checking that it contains and not contains. So it contains the UIK type 300 and then and not contains within the square brackets. I'm only guessing here, obviously, but
yeah. I have to give that a try and figure this out. So not right and right that class contains that class. No, it doesn't work because it should have given me some output. No, it doesn't work. That class UITK. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, I have to see what options are available. There has to be some option to just take out one section. All right. Okay. Anyways, let's not waste time in this. I will look into it and let you guys know how to do that. So I just explained to you a few things. I explained to you how to work with the contains method and text method and starts with method. So those are the things, right? Now let's go and understand the other part, which is this section where I'm trying to talk about something called as XPath access. what is XPath access and why do I even need that? So at times you will face this. I'm not saying you will face this every day, but there could be a possibility where you can face the situation. Meaning, for example, you're trying to inspect an element or you're trying to work out with an element in the page, and for some reason, you are not able to get to the element directly. Sorry, somebody. All right. So what I'm saying here is that there's a possibility that the element that you're trying to work with, you are not able to get to that directly. Why? Because it has not enough options available. It has not enough options available. Okay? Or enough attributes available to make it unique in the page. Right? So in this section itself, where I'm just talking about Amazon and not Amazon, sorry, Expedia here. Yeah, Expedia. Right? And inspect. All right. So, for example, this element, list your property. I'm giving you an example. I will not be able to show you the actual use case because I don't have a working example that can work or that can really justify the logic. But I'm just trying to tell you that maybe you are asked to work with list your property element and you don't have enough attributes to actually get this guy uniquely found in the page. Okay. So what is that you will use to ideally find this element in the page then? Again, understand my logic or my use case. My use case is this. I am not able to find this link called list your properties so that I can work with it because I don't have enough attributes attached to it, but I somehow have to figure it out to come to this element so that I can work with it. That is my use case. The question is, how can I do that? I can do that using XPath access. XPath access. What will it do? It will help me to take a reference of other elements in the page, and then it will help me to take other reference in the page or the other elements in the page, and then look out for the element that I want to work with. For example, I have this div that I want to work with. Let us all assume that I'm not able to get to this guy directly. So what can I do? I can look for some kind of a neighboring element. It could be this element, or it could be this element. Okay. And then I have to somehow figure it out. How can I reach out to this div? That is basically called as XPath access. Using XPath access, I can figure that out. I can first and foremost land into another element where I can land in directly. Maybe this guy has an ID or some XPath that you can already figure it out. Once you are done with that, then you can figure out how can I reach out to my respective element. Okay. So I'm just trying to show you that process or that strategy. Okay. Let's try to clear the drawing and figure this out. So, for example, I'm assuming that I want to get to this guy, list your property guy. Okay. I can take up the help of a neighboring element. What is a neighboring element? When I'm saying neighboring element, you always again have to inspect and figure it out. What is a neighboring element I mean by? So first and foremost, you got to look at whatever is there next to the target element. For example, look at this section. This is my target element. Cool. Right? This is the child of an anchor tag. And the anchor tag is having a div. Okay? It's having a div. That's cool. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so I have this div, and then I am seeing that this div is a child of an anchor, and the anchor is a child of a div. Okay, I can see that, right? Now, similarly, I can also see that this div that I have here, is a sibling. Now, when I'm trying to understand about access, you have to understand about sibling, about parents, about ancestors, and those kind of things. So now this div is a sibling of this guy over here. Okay? Access meaning you are looking at multiple different relationships now. So this div and this div are next to each other. How do I know that? I know that by looking at its structure. You see, if I expand this, or if I collapse this, I can see that every one of them, every one of these 3 divs, 4 divs are next to each other, correct? So then what do? I can do something like this. I can say, for example, I am able to come to support CES icon. Okay, maybe, all right, let's try to do this. So for example, I am able to come down to, I'm just creating the situation for you, right? For example, I'm able to come down to this anchor. Why? That anchor is having an ID. Okay, so let's try to do that. I say Control F, and I say, I'm trying to come to this ID anchor. So let's see, and say anchor. In the anchor, I am saying at ID equals this guy. Okay, that's my one element. Perfectly fine. Look at it, what I'll do. Now from here, I can go one step up, meaning from here, I can go to the div class. I can do that. How can I do that? I'll use something like this. I'll say /... That takes me to the immediate parent of this anchor tag. Now, when I'm in this parent, now I know that this parent supports CS icon, and my immediate previous sibling is the parent or the grandparent of this div class. So the strategy is this. I'm going to jump from this guy to this guy, okay? And then from there, I want to jump to my div class, which is my target element. Do you see my strategy? Meaning, come to something that you can directly find with your XPath, then make your way in to the target element. That is what we are trying to do in terms of access. So I just did one level up Right now, I'm just one level up to my immediate parent of the anchor tag. Perfectly fine. Now from here, I can do something, meaning I say slash, and I say something that is following sibling, and what sibling is that? There are two different types of siblings. I am trying to recall. Preceding, yeah. So look at this. So here, okay. So I'm here now, and now I'm saying slash, and I'm saying preceding sibling colon div. Do you see how did I jump? Look at this. I'll remove this section. Where am I? I'm in div class support CS icon, right? Now I say Control V, and I jumped to my preceding sibling. The keyword preceding sibling is basically XPath access. It's coming under XPath access. There are multiple different keywords like that, like preceding sibling, like following sibling, those kind of things. But with the help of this kind of strategy, I can now jump from one node to the other node. Node meaning the nodes, right? And nodes. So from one node to the other node, I can jump. And that's what I did. Right? Now that I am in the div, now all I have to do is, I'll say I'm looking for another div. So say /div. That's it. How cool is that? Meaning I just started my search from the anchor tag and made my way in to the right element. How did I do it? I jumped from different nodes to different nodes and figured it out. How can I come to the right element? You see, I have not taken any attribute. I didn't consider anything from this div element other than just the tag. And still I'm able to reach out to this guy. Meaning in the whole page over here, you can go from anywhere to anywhere with the help of your XPath access. And that is the reason why I say that XPath access is very, very powerful. Like we have preceding sibling, we can again go for following sibling or even ancestor, right? So let us take another example now, meaning clear it out, clear the drawing. The idea is now I will get started from this guy, okay? And then I want to come to maybe this guy over here, the div guy that has, let's see what else it is. Okay. So the idea is that I want to ideally come to this particular anchor. Let me expand this completely and then expand. All right. So my motive is that I want to get started from there. All right. Look at it. I'm getting started from there. Okay. And then eventually my plan is to get started from here and then immediately jump to my div. Now understand this div is not an immediate parent of this div class. I have an anchor in between. So I ideally have to jump to anchor and then to the div. Okay, that's fine. So from this div, I want to land in to this guy. Okay. Once I land into this guy, then I can look for an anchor called anchor list, href list. And inside that, I have multiple different anchors again to work with. You see, I have, okay, basically here on, what I will do is I will just come to this particular UTIC list, and inside this UTIC list, I have two different anchors, or three anchors ideally, 1, 2, 3. So I want to basically get all these three anchors. That's my motive. Let's do that. What's the name of this guy? It's called div class listier property. Very simple. Take out everything else. Div text, okay, equals list your property. Okay, list your property. That's my first element. Good stuff. The keyword that we are learning here is ancestor. What is it? Ancestor. Why? Earlier, what I was doing is I was saying slash dot dot. That will take me to the anchor tag, the immediate parent. But what if I want to come to my grandparent or great grandparent? How can I do that? I can use something called as ancestor. How? I'll just say ancestor. Okay. And what type of ancestor I'm looking at? I'm looking at an ancestor of div type. So : div. Now, when I did that, what it has done is it has taken me to the topmost ancestor in this whole structure, and that is app, div ID app. But that is not what I'm looking at. I need the ancestor, which is the ancestor that is this guy, div class list property underscore icon. That is the ancestor I'm trying to work with. So list your property. All right. So here I'll say at class. See, I'm now refining things, right? At class equals list your property. And I will not say class, but I'll just say contains at class, and then I'll just say here. You see that? What did I do? Started from here, jump to here. Okay, first part is done. Good stuff. Now, second stuff. I got to jump again from here to here. How can I do that? I can do that because this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy are sibling to each other. How can I do that? Is just with the help of slash following sibling : div, obviously div. And how many divs I have as a following sibling? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 of them. So I'm concerned about the third one that has a text called as class. I mean, yeah, it has two things. It has a text, it has a class, and it has an ID as well. All right. So I'll just say ID, div at ID, copy. Why they don't have this guy? Copy an image. Yeah. So div. Holy shit. No, sorry about that. I'm just going to copy this guy. Div at ID. GC. You know what? I'll just use customs. I'll just use contents. Contents can be used by anything ideally, right? Contents at ID, and I'll say ID contains a keyword called as GC. That's it. That should work, right? So you see, I just jumped from here to here, perfectly fine. Now, when I jump from here to here, then I can easily look for another div called UITK list. I can do that. I'll say double slash, because again, when I'm saying double slash, I'm saying, okay, I don't need a double slash. No, I need a double slash. Why? Because you see, from here, from this guy, I need to come to this guy, right? So again, from here, I need to come to this guy, UITK list. So UITK list is not the direct child of this class or this div. So I have to come to this guy here, which is a subchild or a grandchild. So I will use double slash, obviously. And here I'm going to say div. Here I'm going to say class. I'm going to say UITK. Correct? That's that. You see how did I made my way to this guy? And then here it's simple, just a double slash A. That's it. I had 3 of these guys. At the very beginning, I told you, I am just looking for 3 anchor tags. But I cannot reach out to the anchor tags directly. I'm just assuming the whole thing. I can obviously reach out to the anchor tags, but I'm just showing you that if you don't have an option to directly reach out to one element, then you can take the help of your neighboring elements. With the help of XPath access, you can land in to n number of elements. Okay? That's how the whole thing worked. Everybody got this whole structure? Yes, no? That you just have to remember these keywords and when to use what. Ancestor, following sibling, preceding sibling, right? Those are the keywords that you have to understand. Is that clear to everyone? Yes, no?
Yes.
Agatha, you are already into automation. Are you using this kind of logic or strategies to get your XPaths, or this is something that you're learning?
Actually, we are using CSS selectors in my company mostly. Okay. So for me also, it was something new, but really beneficial. It just add to the table. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, because in CSS selector, you don't have these options, right? You don't get to choose this kind of complex logics, right?
No, you don't.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to show here. All right. So now let's go back and see the other stuff. Whatever we did in terms of the XPath access, I will give that a try and figure out our first problem. I'm pretty sure that can be done. Just have to sit with it for a while. What else we have to cover up today? So that's that. Web element commands 1. Okay. Let's get back to some commands, right? Again, driver.get. I told you get is a method coming out of WebDriver object. That's the reason why I'm using it. This will help me to navigate to the URL. Another method is called driver.navigate back to. So here, basically, this method called driver.navigate to and driver.get, they both are doing the same thing. I think the driver.navigate back to will help me to use the method called as driver.navigate back. So if you are launching the URL with the help of driver.navigate to, you can basically perform the operation called as driver.navigate back. Driver.navigate back is a method that will let you just simply scroll back to the previous element, previous page, meaning you can just go one level back like this. So not here, I will do it like this here. You see, I can go back with the help of my browser button. That is basically navigate back is doing for me. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to show you here, that there are some methods that will do certain tasks. One is get, one is navigate back, navigate forward, get current URL. At times you will need to know what is your current URL, right? That will tell you that. So get current URL, get title. Get title is nothing but the title that you are seeing here. You see, Expedia Travel Vacations Home. Okay, that is a title that I am getting when I'm hovering my mouse on the tab. That's the title that I will get out of it if I use get title method. Let's go on XPath access. I have done with that. commands for web element. Web element is having commands like .click, .send keys, .clear. .clear will clear the input field. So when you are performing an option or an action in the input field, you probably need to clear it up, okay, at times, okay? For example, you have this guy, okay, for example, let me just complete this test case, right? Why would I not do it? So for example, I have the simple test case where I've launched this particular browser and I have a simple array here. So string, say searches, okay, searches. And here it's an array, string searches, and I just say searching multiple stuff. For example, I'll say I'm saying 1 plus 5, 1 plus 6, okay, 1 plus 6, 9. Okay, something like that. And the idea is I want to search for these 3 keywords or n number of keywords you can pull in here. What I will do, simple for, okay, loop around. So string product colon searches and say Control X, and in here just pass it on the product, right? If I just run this, what will happen? Let's see. So I'll just say test main. I want to start this test main, so run as Java application. You know how this whole structure will work. It'll go get the Chrome driver created, and that's how it will open up my Chrome browser, go to Amazon, and you see what is happening? 1 plus 6, 1 plus 9, everything got attached to each other. That's not going to work out, right? What we'll have to do, I will be doing something like this. I will be clearing it up. So I say this guy dot clear at every iteration, okay? And then I will do a send keys of the product, and I'll do a comma, and then I will say keys dot enter. Why keys dot enter? Keys dot enter meaning it is just exactly mimicking as if you're hitting your keyboard, and that will basically perform the search for you. So let's do that again. So 1 plus, clear it up, 1 plus 6, clear it up, 1 plus 9, clear it up, right? That's how it should be working. You just learned about send keys, how to enter the product name, how to hit a enter. Or if you don't want to hit a enter, then what you have to do is you have to click on the corresponding button, right? That is this button over here, right? So you have to get the export of this element and then say dot click on that element. I'm not doing it. I'm just saying hit enter and then just go about it. That's that. And then say dot clear over here as well, right? Which will clear up the text box for you. So that's that. What else I have? Okay, I have another method which is get attribute value. What do you mean by that? So get attribute is a method that will let you know the attribute of any element you're working with. For example, you're working with, for example, you're working with this Amazon, and there are hundreds of links over here. Okay, let's get the export of it. Very simple. I can just say inspect and I want to get all these anchors. So let's just inspect one of them. That's my anchor. And they are under a list, which is under a UL. UL is nothing but unordered list. Inside the unordered list, I have multiple LIs item. LI means list items. And all of these guys are under one section called as here, div class nav foot vertical row. Okay. Or maybe this one. No, this one, right? So let's just copy this piece, Control F, and just say div at class equals this guy. Good. And then I'm just trying to get all the links inside it, right? I can say just /A, right? That will give me all the anchors. Is it not? It is giving me all the anchors, correct? All of them. Perfectly fine. Everything is there. Good stuff. Now, if you look at each and every anchor separately, the anchors are having this attribute called as href. Okay. For example, you just want to print out all these values of href. Okay. How can you do that? You can do that with the help of get attribute method. How? Just like that. You just go back to your Eclipse. I am just going to comment out. No, let it run. This is my test case number 1. And this is my test case number 2. So as a part of test case number 2, I'll get that thing done. So my bad. That is my XPath here. Control A. All right. And here I'm saying simply so here I have to deal with multiple elements. So I can say list of web element, and here I'm saying links or footer links. Okay. Driver dot find elements. Find elements by XPath. And then I just say this guy as it is, correct? That gives me back a list of web elements. Good stuff. By the way, these guys are within Amazon. So obviously I have to launch Amazon like so. And once I'm here, then I need a help. Not a help, I mean a loop around it. So for, I'll say something that is web element ELE column footer links, correct? And then my motive is simple. I'll just say sysout. I want to just simply print them out. Nothing more than that. Sysout. And then I'm saying ELE dot. Okay, you see, method is get attribute. Okay, get attribute. And what do I say do with this? I'm just going to say href. That's the attribute value I want to work with. I want to also print out some other things. For example, I want to print out ELE.getText. So getText will give me something. Get text. It will get me something. Get attribute will get me something. Let's see what else I can get out of it. ELE dot get tag name. Okay. Get location. Not really interested in those things. Something I want to really print out. I think I'll go with the attribute and tag name, for example. That should be it. Tag name. Okay. Actually, I will just put the tag name just there. Obviously, it's an anchor, so the tag name you know already. And finally, I will just add another sysout and put some dashes here so that every section can be separated out, right? And I have to call this method, which is DC002. So how do I do that? Obviously, I have to go back to my main class. And here I say run.dc002. Perfect. And I will not run DC001. So comment this out and just then run the other guy. See? Okay, so this should print out everything. You see? It printed out everything for me. So it's a type anchor. The text is careers, and the href is this guy. Correct? That's how I got everything over here. So the method that you just learned is get attribute, get text, those kind of stuff. Element.get text, element.get attribute, perfectly fine. All right, so that's the end of it. And let's just try to look into the 13th one. What do I have in here? Okay, that's it. That's all I have in here. I'm gonna send you the solutions for week number 14, week number 4. And let's come back next week and work it out with week number 5. Question is, do you want me to enable week number 6, or I will just generally enable week number 5 for everyone so that we all can get back to week 5 and continue from there on, everyone together. Is that what we want to do, or how it is? Yes, no? So I'm not hearing back from anyone. Hello?
I don't need anything else enabled. I got blocked.
I'll just continue with week 5.
Okay.
Yeah, week 5 for me as well.
Okay. So I'm just going to enable week 5 in general for everyone. Last week I enabled week 5 for some of you guys, but I'm not going to enable week 6. I'm just going to make week 5 for everyone so that everybody is in the same page. And that's it. So how was the class today? Are you guys happy? Any questions, any doubt?
Very happy, Souvik, because I've had this sessions before with other trainers, but it wasn't in that detail in terms of, find element, what is find element, what is by, and all of that stuff. They just asked us to memorize this and, keep finding elements and stuff. But
yeah,
thanks for teaching us how to look into that as well, which was very, very useful. So
all right, cool. Thank you.
It was a good session. Really happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Me too, Souvik. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm glad that you feel that way. Thank you. All right. So perfect. I'm happy that you guys are getting into it because this is a one-time activity, guys. Programming, once you start liking it, once you get into it, it is going to open a different world for every one of you. You can then move into, in 2-3 years down the line, you can move into DevOps. You can go to, your machine learning if you want to. There are hundreds of things, but as soon as you figure this out, that how can you tell your machine, or that means your system, to do something, that is the challenge. That is the barrier I want to break. And I really want to get to a level where I can make programming easy for everyone, because people get scared of it. And that is where I am really trying to come in here and help as much as I can. Great. So perfect. Have a great weekend. I'm going to enable week 5 after this class for everyone else. And let's meet back next weekend, same time.
Thanks, Souvik.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.